Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TCR. Second sprint week of the season, the penultimate round, round 11 out of 12, and we are back for the first time since season 15 in Portugal. These drivers have not seen this track in roughly 2 years, and they're going to have to get the rust off today and show the competition what they got. My name is Camden Luca, in the booth, because where else would I be on a Tuesday night? This is the place to be. We got 8 drivers, 15 corners, and 4.653 kilometers in length. The guy you are looking at right now is none other than the newly crowned 7-time TCR champion of B-Tom, who puts up a 1:18.745. That is on medium tires. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is another record that gets broken this season, because the last TCR qualifying lap record was set by, and this could be a good little question for a TCR trivia night, Tebow, the season 13 silver class champion, put up a 1:16.4. Now that is not a bad lap by any means, but when you got B-Tom on the grid in his prime, and I'm assuming he'll have no incidents at the start-finish line this week. If you didn't watch the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix from last week, I'm not going to really touch up on it anymore, but it was not one of B-Tom's highlights, let's just put it that way. He did end up clinching the championship last week, but he didn't end up winning the race. So you'll have to go back and watch. We did put up a short, actually. That's how embarrassing it was. But his teammate, Lion, last week's winner, GTR Lion that is, gets in the 117s, a 17.967. And right now we're looking at a McLaren 1-2, which we came about 200 yards from getting last week. But Lion was able to get his first victory of the season and his second podium in a row. So Lion could be looking for that three-peat today. And if you're noticing on the grid right now that everybody has medium tires, that is because we are running a sprint race today. So the way that will work is we will have this qualifying session, we'll have a sprint race, and then we will have a 50% feature. So it's going to be a little bit of a long night, but season 20, maybe that will change. Maybe we'll go down to a 35%. Or maybe if these drivers are really, really wanting to get into their beds and not race, we could do a 5-lapper next season, as Jose puts up a 1:17.510. That is, wow, that's actually a really, really solid lap when you look at everybody else. I mean, that's a second ahead of B-Tom. Well, hold that thought. B-Tom just obliterated that lap, a 1:17 flat on mediums. So he's about half a second off of the qualifying lap record, and I don't know if we're going to break it if these guys aren't willing to go on the soft tires for a lap. I don't know, and really, I don't know if it's worth it. If you're looking for maximum points in the sprint race, then I don't know if that's worth it. But as I mentioned, the Drivers' Championship is going to be Tom, and you know, maybe today, maybe next week, we'll give him a proper call for the championship, because I love doing commentating in general. You know, it doesn't matter the week, but the champion's call is my favorite, and I didn't really get the opportunity to give B-Tom a proper call due to the events that happened last week. So if B-Tom, ideally, if he wins in the season finale next week, then we could give him, you know, B-Tom, your 7-time champion, you know. Confetti falls down from the sky, and that was really close to being a disaster for B-Tom. Almost crashed into Mahmood. No, Deathstroke. Maybe Deathstroke was looking for a car insurance claim. He was, you know, sitting in harm's way trying to get some money off of B-Tom there, as JMB in the pits, and JMB he's had a really solid season. Not going to win the Drivers' Championship this season, but he has picked up 3 wins on the season. Looking to get second in points, unless there's something absolutely catastrophic happens these next couple of weeks. He should clinch that, as he has 29 points over GTR Lion for second in points. And I think we'll just transition to going over the points real quick. B-Tom, like I said, clinches the championship, 216. JMB has 156. GTR Lion, 127. So he is still within reach of JMB, but he's going to need, I wouldn't say a miracle, but he's going to need a lot to go right if he wants to get second in points. Charles had a huge week last week, jumped up to 4th in points with his second place finish, 103 points, and then Mr. Jose rounds out the top 5 with 91 points. And then from there, we got Mahmood in 6th, Silent in 7th, Capitan in 8th, Jackson Altman 9th, and Remsley rounding out the top 10 in points. And speaking of Mahmood, let's go on board with Mr. Mahmood here for a lap around the Portuguese Algarve circuit. I hope I pronounced that right. It's actually the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao, Portugal. But we see Mahmood, I think he's backing off for now, not going to do a lap for the time being, but he is headed through Sector 2, down turn 11, this downhill right-hander, and then up the hill, turn 13 right here. I like this corner. It's one of those corners where you can really slip and slide on corner exit, and then this long sweeping turn 14. He may be setting himself up here for a lap. Let's see if we can go on board with him and see what the Bahrainian driver has in store. And you notice how long that front stretch is. He's already down into the 50s on the battery. That's something that we'll have to look for today as he makes his way to the end of Sector 1. A bit of a lock up there, kind of slid his way through the corner, but nonetheless, gets it gathered back up, and let's see what he can do here. In Sector 1, he's got a 22.8. Swerving a little bit. I don't think he's out of fuel. Usually that's what you do when you're out of fuel, and he may have backed it down there, and I think he's going to give it another go next time around. JMB, though, looks to be on a flyer, about to start his lap. Let's go on board with the Kick Sauber driver. Should I start calling him JMB Jr.? Because if you guys weren't in the loop, El Capitan is JMB's dad. I think most of us knew that, but just to get the clarification out there. So maybe I should start calling him El Capitan Jr. Maybe for April Fool's next year, for season 22, we'll do that. But because this is a sprint qualifying, we are almost done. You see there's 45 seconds left on the clock, so everybody is getting their laps in. And look at that, softs all over the board. This could be a record-breaking qualifying session for B-Tom or JMB or somebody else who wants to insert their name to the top of the list. But JMB, I think he saved his battery here for this front stretch, which was a smart move. Let's see here as he comes to the line. Could have kept it tighter to the inside, but JMB, 1:16.532 provisional pole for him. Good lap there. But will it stick? That's the question. We got Sir Charles, next one to the finish line. And like I said, let's go on board with him here. Ideally, you want to stay to the right. You know, you just want to crank that bad boy to the right, and he does. Let's see if Sir Charles gets provisional pole to the line. He does not, but he goes up to P3 with a 17th lap. B-Tom on a lap looking nice and pretty, but his teammate Lion to the line. Let's see what he can do. Lion up to P2. B-Tom, though, this could be a record-setting lap here in TCR qualifying. He's going to get a bit of a slipstream possibly, too, to the finish line. A 1:15.953 A great lap there by B-Tom, and that is a new TCR record. And let's see what Jose has to the finish line. And Jose up to P4. Capitan 117.4. Mamu to the finish line. 118.9 is the best he can do. That will do it. B-Tom, only driver in the 115s, a 15.9, and we saw that only 6 drivers use softs, and they all use a single pair. You got to keep the softs around for the whole thing. You know, you gotta disperse evenly. You know, we really fight for equal rights when it comes to F1 tires and TCR. No one tire is greater than the other. That's a lie. I lied right to your faces. The softs are good for about 4 laps at most places. And Jose, he's been vocal in the past about how the mediums and hards are basically identical. So, we fight for tire equality in TCR, just not for the softs. And the weather is going to be nice today, it seems like. So, no wet weather tires to spare today, as we're going to get ready for the sprint race. There are 8 drivers here, and 8 drivers get points in the sprint race, so everybody's going to get a little something. But first place gets 8 points, and 8th place gets 1 point. So it goes down the ladder, if you will, from 8 to 1. So we'll see who gets the 8 points. And I think you know what I love about the sprint, you guys, is I get to make double the predictions. So, my predictions last week weren't very good, and neither were C-Freeze's, because I think we all anticipated that B-Tom was going to cross the finish line in one piece, but that did not happen. So, we'll give it a go. I think B-Tom's got this in the bag. If you look at the pace he had in qualifying, I mean, that's the obvious pick. I'm ready. JMB P2, and yeah, we'll go Lion P3. That will not be the last time I play this song today. Leave your predictions down in the comments. Predictions, thoughts, concerns, whatever you guys got on your mind. This is a safe space. Jose is talking about intentional stupidity in the TCR Discord. He's referring to Codemasters. But we will see what these drivers can do. Keep in mind, it's called a sprint race for a reason, right? It's not called a marathon. So these drivers are really going to have to be mindful of the battery, be mindful with their tires, because these soft tires, you know, we'll see if they put on softs or mediums, but depending on what tire these guys use, that could come into play, because, you know, the sprint race, I think, is... what do we got? We got 33 laps today for the feature. So the sprint race, I think, is a third of the feature distance. So I think it's going to be 12 laps. I think that's how many we got for the sprint. But we got to watch out for turn 1. Turn 1 is a fast right-hander, a long front straightaway that leads up to it. We've seen some dive bombs go wrong in the past. Will they go wrong today? We're about to find out for race 1 of the night, and it's time to go, go, go. Long hold there, but B-Tom was ready, but JMB was just as ready. Down to turn 1 they go, giving each other plenty of space. That is close. JMB putting up the hand of, what the heck? Why would you race me like that? But nonetheless, they are racing clean, racing side by side out of the corner. Bit of contact, but what a move around the outside for J&B. B-Tom going around the outside, this time into the hairpin. Does he have a switchback in him here in turn 5? I think he's going to stick it to the outside and go around J&B to get that spot back. J&B, though, look at that move to the inside here. In this uphill right-hander, it's hard to get the throttle down, and B-Tom's going to pull away. Great stuff there to start off the race. Ooh, J&B. You know, there's a couple of different ways to take that corner without spinning out. You could either go straight into the corner and then kind of diamond the corner, or you could just ring around the rosy and just, you know, take it like a normal kid would. As we take a look at our possible race strategies, you notice that 7 out of the 8 people today chose soft, so we're going to see how these tires are at the end. This could get a little spicy. I'd be surprised if these things are in peak condition at the end of the race, but B-Tom leads the first lap. 11 laps, actually. Okay, which, that makes sense. My math was wrong at the beginning. J&B to the inside. Like I said, first corner here, always tough to try and get a battle to work. As Jose is ready to go to battle here, around the outside of GTR Lion Hill at the inside here. They're side by side. Down this back straightaway, entering Sector 2 down to the hairpin. And Jose, ooh, he's really pushing it, and he will lose that spot there to Line. Nearly lost the back end. And this is a good battle right here for points between Charles and Jose. As I mentioned at the top of the show, these two are separated by 12 points right now. And they could still catch Lion, too, for third in points, but with Lion's win last week, that may be out the window, and Lion could be setting his sights on P2 in the standings if J&B has a bad race today. But nonetheless, everybody seems to be up to speed. Deathstroke, the only one on mediums, and as you can tell, it is hurting him, but you never know. He could get pace at the end with those tires and maybe get a spot or two. Capitan had a good week last week. First podium in season 19 for him, and ooh, look at this camera shot. And look at this for the lead. These two playing leapfrog. Not the first time I've said that this season. And really, this is like a big train making its way through the Portimao circuit. With J&B, the head of the train, leading the way. And we'll see if J&B can remain as the conductor. B-Tom, he likes to conduct. He's conducted a lot here in TCR. You know, it's a tough decision, though. You know, you get different views from being either the conductor or the caboose. You know, front or the back. Some people like being at the front, some people like being at the back. But B-Tom wants to be at the front, entering lap 4, and he's using a lot of his battery here. I think he wants this lead right now. You don't really see B-Tom use a lot of battery. That was an interesting decision there. Oh, man! Wow! J&B using his front horn there, trying to muscle his way by B-Tom. Literally. That could have been really bad. I gotta say, though, J&B has been getting his elbows out as of late. He, just want to touch up on this, he did get a penalty for that incident with Jose last week in Saudi Arabia. So, you know, he is on thin ice. He got a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points. And if you get 3 penalty points, you're gonna have to start at the caboose. So, J&B, you know, there's still one race to go after today. So, you don't want to start at the back, especially at Australia. I feel like that, oh, trouble. What happened here? Oh, no, Capitan has gone around. And that is out of turn 11. That downhill right-hander, and that is one of the, I think, one of the tougher corners on the track. Just from a apex perspective of how to take that corner, but also, too, getting the foot down and accelerating. That is not an easy task, and I actually like that camera shot there. That really shows the banking there. And J&B, man, he must have had a great front stretch there. He got about half a second ahead of B-Tom there before the first corner. But we got battles everywhere. Lion P3, and look at this. Well, if B-Tom gets by J&B, I could be getting a 1-2-3 in my podium predictions. That deserves a little confetti if I've ever heard it before. You know, we'll keep that at the end. If I get all 3 podium predictions right, we'll play that confetti at the end again. And, you know, I do want to touch up on, I was saying before on how B-Tom used a lot of battery before it got down to 30%. If you look at the battery, though, he's already back up to 86%. So if this were his phone, he wouldn't need to charge it for a while. But that is Portimao. The battery here, it's very forgiving. However, though, you don't want to use too much. You know, you want to have some in store for your next overtake. You know, it's like in Clash of Clans. You know, you gotta have enough money for your next move. I think Jose's going to make a move here on GTR Lion. That was a bit close there. Oh, Jose drifting it there, dirt tracking it. Ooh, that was that a dummy move by Lion there? You saw Jose kind of go deep, maybe anticipating that Lion was going to stick it in on him, but nonetheless, Jose keeps that spot. Oh, cool, my tax return got accepted. That's good. It is tax day, so if you haven't done your taxes, well, well, hold on. All right, you two. Whoa, hold on, we got a battle. Side by side into turn 11. These guys are wasting no time going at it. And J&B gonna have to sit in line for the time being. If you don't do your taxes by midnight tonight, you might hear this. Oh, J&B with an issue. And down the grid he goes. It's been a rough lap for him. Down to P5 he goes, and this has opened things up a lot further for someone like Sir Charles to go for P2. But Lion's going to give it a go right now on Jose. Ooh, that was tight. And off the track he goes. Hopefully he didn't get a warning for that. Sir Charles going to give Lion a little something here, trying to get around him for the spot, and he's got it. But Lion, though, with that DRS, going to fight back. And that is the great thing about turn 4, that uphill left-hander that we saw there. Great room for side-by-side action, as well as this corner right here. And honestly, I'm starting to think it was a bit of a crime that we didn't do this track more often. Because I don't think this track will be back on F125 since Portimao has not been on the F1 calendar. But we probably should have used this a little bit more with the last few games. Because like I said, we've really only used this track 3 times. We've used it in Season 13, Season 15, and Season 19. So, could have given Portimao a little bit more love. But nonetheless, we'll give it one more go here today. And then we will say goodbye to the track. And move on to F125. Let's see how this fight goes. I don't think Lion's going to do much here as J&B in the pits. J&B out of the race. I don't think he's going to hit the 90% range. I'm a little curious by that move there. He could have gotten a point. Maybe he's got dinner reservations. But what that does, though, is that opens a spot up for everybody else. Line P2, and he's got company. Oh! Ho, ho. Now he's got more company. Jose is going to be right there on him. And you notice, though, B-Tom may be giving his teammates some DRS here. Huh. I don't know if that's going to help Lion, at least for this lap. We'll see if Jose can get by him, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. Well, they somehow made that work. Lion may have gone all four wheels off the track there, but nothing too egregious, as Charles going to have to tuck back in line. Into P4. And it's a country mile and a half back to Mahmoud, Capitan, and Deathstroke. And Lion, you can tell he is pushing it. Trying to stay with Jose. You see there's a second margin there. And Jose could be in here for a potential sprint win. And I did put in my mid-season predictions that Jose would win a race, so... and I know it's just a sprint, but... I don't know, Seafreeze, if you're listening, would I be right? Because, I mean, I didn't specify. I said if he wins a race. We got ourselves a low helicopter shot today. Helicopter man, you better watch out. There's a handful of grandstands you're about to come upon right here. Yeah, don't run into the people. There you go. Cameraman's always got to watch out for other objects that may be in the area. And that applies to the TCR track too, you know, you got to watch out for other obstacles. Like when Seafreeze is on the track, you got to watch out for that obstacle. Looks like we got two battles, both with two cars, both with one McLaren. Both McLarens at the front of those battles. The question is, though, can they hold on to their respective battles? Each spot is a point, so B-Tom as of now getting 8, and Charles would be getting 5. So Jose gets 7, Lion gets 6, Charles gets 5, and onward. But I don't think this is safe and steady for B-Tom just yet. He's got Jose about 6/10 behind him here as we enter the final lap of the sprint race. And this could be an easy overtake here for Sir Charles. Jose, though, ooh, he really sent it in there. Did a great job there under braking. Didn't lose much time to B-Tom at all. But can he get ahead of B-Tom by the hairpin? He's going to have to stay in line. You see, he doesn't have much battery, but he's going to try to get a switchback going. Both these guys, low on fuel, low on battery, trying to get to the end of this 11-lap sprint. B-Tom gets sideways. If I were Jose, I would save the battery for the front stretch. He may be going for it right now. Oh, back to the inside there. He really wants this. Let's see if he makes a move here around the outside of B-Tom. Back to the inside. Good corner there for B-Tom. I think he's got this. A hard-fought battle with Jose. It's not over just yet. Jose's going to need to push to the finish line. I don't think he's going to get there. To the finish line, B-Tom is going to win the sprint race. Jose second, Charles third, Lion fourth. Great stuff there. Great hard racing. Maybe we should get a third sprint race next season, honestly. If these sprint races always bring out the best in drivers, as Mahmoud P5, Capitan P6, and Deathstroke will end up P7. So what we will do is we will go and reset the lobby, because the lobby will naturally give us another qualifying. And then we will start the feature. And yeah, J&B, I don't think he reached the 90% range, so I'm not sure if he will get a point for his spot. So you see, there's the points right there. Beaton with 8, and he will start on pole position for the feature race. So, like I said, they do, and we will back out of this in just a second. Oh, no. Oh, JMB, his rig broke. Oh, geez, that sucks. And, you know, that is the thing with wheels. Obviously, they're great. I have one. I used one from season 16 to season 18. But, and luckily, I have not had this issue yet. When your wheels go, it sucks. Because it's like middle of the race, they can die all of a sudden, you know? And that's something you don't deal with a controller, especially if the controller is hardwired. Controllers can still die, but it's just more of like, you run into more issues with wheels compared to controllers, you know? And you guys get a bird's eye view here of how we set up a lobby here for TCR races. What do you guys think? Should we put the difficulty on 69? I think we'll do that. Nah. We have it at 80. We have it just at the expert level. That way, it's a good balance between AIs that don't drag behind, but also we don't want AIs that just pull away. So, yeah. So, ideally, if we could get everyone in here in 3 minutes, we could get going by 9:30. That would be awesome. If we could get the race started by 9:30. It's more of I was kind of hard on these guys earlier for readying up because they kind of like to take their sweet time when they ready up. It's more of I'm looking out for them though because I know that we run these races after 10 o'clock. You know, like these races get done at like 10:05, 10:10, and I know people got places to be in the morning. So you know that's more of what I look for when talking about that. So. All right. And we'll see if J&B can race the feature. Like I said, on the YouTube comments, he just said how his wheel basically broke on him. It doesn't downshift, which that's an issue on any track. Jose. Lion got third, right? Charles got third. See, that's why you always double check your. Always proofread. You know, while we're here and waiting, since we kind of are just chilling out, I do think this could be a good time. to do predictions, since we do have the order. This is one of those treats where we can be in the lobby and we already have a feeling of where people are going to be. Actually, this is interesting. You see how there's music playing in the background right now? And I got this song. Maybe the two songs playing on top of each other will cancel each other out and we'll have no copyright. I don't know how, we have yet to have a single copyright notification for the entire season. And I think it's because I play my audio through my phone. This is just on my phone. And I hold it up to the microphone. But as we wait, I don't know, man. Jose, he had some speed. But I do think B-Tom, he's got a monkey to get off his back after last week's fiasco. So I'm going to go B-Tom P1. I think Jose, yeah, we'll go. Yeah, Jose had good pace. We'll go Jose P2, and we'll go Lion P3. So, by the way, I'm not allowed to pick Charles on my podium. I've had horrible luck when I try to put Charles on my podium. It usually never happens, because ever since I stopped picking him, he got on the podium. So, yeah, we'll see. But we're just waiting on, like I said, JMB's got some wheel issues, so we're trying to see if that can get settled, and I'm sure El Capitan is maybe giving some fatherly advice, trying to help out. He's trying to help out El Capitan Jr. JMB or Capitan, if you're listening, that's what I'm calling him from now on, is I'm calling him El Capitan Jr. Remsley, what's going on? Remsley, are we going to see you next week for the season finale? It's Australia, and I think Australia is one of those tracks to where it's racy, but you need a full grid for that race, I feel like. Australia is a lot of fun. When you got like 15 people that show up and you got a bunch of DRS passing going on. There's El Capitan. Let's get him in his correct spot. He finished P6. So then we just got to get JMB in here, and JMB will start P8. So. All right, looks like we got everybody in here. Let's see if the order is accurate. B-Tom, Jose, Charles, Lion, Mahmood, Capitan, Deathstroke, and JMB. Cool. I think we should be ready to go. Leave your predictions down in the comments of who you got. Okay, well, Remsley, if you are home, we'd love to have you. All right. And like I said, clear weather, nice and sunny, so you don't have to get your umbrellas out at all. And I think what we'll have to see is if JMB's wheel doesn't let out on him here, we could be looking at a possible last to first. Remsley's got B-Tom, Lion, and Jose for the podium. I think that's my podium, just not in that order. I had B-Tom, Jose, and then Lion in my podium. Maybe J&B. Honestly, I didn't know if J&B was going to race when I did my predictions for the feature because of his wheel issues, but you never know. He could easily go and do a last to first. Although this is not one of those tracks where it's necessarily easy to stay within DRS, so I don't know. It depends on how quick he gets through traffic, and we know J&B is going to be aggressive to try and get through traffic. So. Well, I'm getting an inside report that B-Tom has made changes to his setup, and that is one of the things that you can do in between sprint races with this lobby changes. Yeah, you can go in if you feel like you need to make a setup change. This is one of those scenarios where you can do that, and I think we need to implement more of that. And I'm almost glad that we have to go into a lobby reset. Because it gets the engineering side of it into play a little bit. Because we always have Parc Ferme on. For obvious reasons. You can't... I think most weeks you shouldn't just go and, pick one setup for qualifying and pick one for the race. But, we got to spice it up every now and then. We should be able to, every now and then, have Parc Ferme off, and this is basically what we're doing for today. But enough of that. We're going to get straight into the race. We'll see if J&B can do a last to first challenge. We'll see if B-Tom can hold on this week, and we can see if anyone else wants to put up a fight, and we're about to find out right now. And they are going off the line. Jose gets a good start. He's right there, but look at Charles trying to make it 3 wide. Oh man, he's going to stick it to the outside there and go way off the track. Jose is going to lead them down into turn 3 and up through turn 4. B-Tom going to stay right there with him. And I think they made it out alive. Look at this pack of cars here headed down into the hairpin. Jose, can he get the acceleration? He's still got B-Tom right there on his right rear wheel, but now Jose up in the lead. And if you look at the strategies, the top 2 are the only one that are starting on mediums. And, I was saying before on how the softs, they aren't great. This is one of those tracks where technically you can use them a lot since, there's a lot of laps here. But J&B, speaking of that last to first challenge, he is already up into P4. A blinding start for J&B, P8 to P4. Everyone else down a spot because of that. We'll see here if he can get to first right away. He's got some heavyweights in front of him though, starting with Charles. And I think patience could be key here, although he's going to... Oh, man. Yeah, that would have been bad. Patience is key, and with his situation right now, J&B should really just be patient. Because if you look at the tire situation, Charles is the first one on softs, but it could be J&B right here. I think he's going to try this. He's going to make a move on B-Tom, too. J&B could be getting this last to first challenge done in 2 laps. But like I said, whoa, what was that? That wasn't a wing, was it? that almost looked like it was. I don't think it was, but stuff flying everywhere here. Capitan's all over Mahmoud. Capitan gets through that corner okay. I remember in the sprint race he had a little issue through there. Man, on the F1 game at least, I feel like I underrated this track, because now that I think about it, there's been some classics here in the past in TCR, and this may be shaping up to be another one here today. As you take a look right now, we got this train here. So B-Tom's going to break the train. He's going to go up into the conductor's position. Although JMB wants to take that conductor roll away. Are they going to go 3 wide? Up in the P2, JMB could be going up into the lead. A last the first challenge in 3 laps. And I know we have a short grid, but I don't care how many cars we have. If you're doing a last the first challenge in 3 laps, then that is something to be said. He could be getting it right here, although he doesn't get a good exit there. And here comes Jose. Yeah, that's one of those... honestly, I've always had a tough issue with that corner there, that uphill corner of turn 8. It's really hard to... you have to get the car placed before you can really accelerate, as Deathstroke, first one that's gone around. And I don't know how many more of these we're going to get, so I may want to take advantage of this. But, Deathstroke, you, sir, have just gotten the Fidget Spinner of the Race Award. Because you, sir, are not keeping it on the track. But at the front, though, these guys are keeping it on the track for the time being. JMB, it took him 3 laps, but he has done the last the first challenge. That deserves some confetti. And the question is, though, can he pull away? Because he is on those softs, so maybe this could end up being a good strategy move. To go the standard way, the softs to mediums, although we see B-Tom and Jose are going the opposite way. And, you know, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Some people like vanilla icing on their cake, some like chocolate. Some people like to crash at the finish line before they win the race. Some people don't. I'm trying not to tease B-Tom too much about it. But like I said, we did put up a short this week if you want to see a replay if you didn't see what happened at the end of last week. But B-Tom will get a proper celebration in Australia, the season finale. But like I said, at the top of the show, he did clinch the season 19 championship, his 7th, but he's going to go for some more wins here. Before the season's over, he's got the lead back, and he is going for his 48th career win here, but he's got to hold off that guy right there, JMB, who is never afraid to get the elbows out and put up a good fight. And corner cutting penalties is something you got to look out for today, and JMB did get one last week. So we'll see if he can avoid the TCR police today and get that W, which would be his 4th, and it would be his 10th overall in this league. So that's... Oh, man, he's off the track! Good save nonetheless. I thought Mahmoud was going to drive through him there. Oh, man. That's... You know what? I'm going to play this sound effect more so for the fact that I just had a pretty bad commentator's curse. Not for JMB having an issue necessarily, because that was a bad commentator's curse on my part. My apologies there, JMB. He could still get the win. I mean, we already saw him do a last to first. At this point, it may just be even more impressive if he does it again. He's going to get a spot here right away on the move, who is down to 10% on the battery. If this were his phone, he would need to plug that bad boy in right away, because, yeah, that's pretty low on the battery. But 6 laps in, not missing much here with top 4. They're still in order, and, you know, if I were Charles and if I were Lyon right now, I would try to get ahead of the 2 ahead, because we saw in the sprint race that these things can go at least 10 laps, but they can't go forever. And the mediums can go a lot longer than the softs can. At this track, you know, the softs are more forgiving than other tracks, but nonetheless, it's still medium versus hard. It's like you know, a rock versus a stone. One of them is going to be more durable if you throw it at a brick wall, you know. Caution, Deathstroke. And he has not had a good start to this race. We don't really like resetting the track, but that's one of those scenarios where if you're stuck in the Goonies the way he was, and yeah, that's totally fine. It's more of like we don't want people to reset on the track in front of Jose, for example, and then Jose gets wiped out of the race. But I think Jose could be in here potentially for a win today, which he really needs after that DNF he got last week in Saudi Arabia. But Jose, he's had besides that DNF last week, he's had a very solid season. 4 podiums, 5th in points. Nothing to be ashamed of at all. It's been a good season for Jose, but I think he's looking for that win to maybe cap off the season with. Although, I mean, if you look at stats, and I'm a little superstitious, Charles got a 3rd in Abu Dhabi, a 2nd in Saudi Arabia, so does that mean a 1st in Portugal? Maybe, but he's going to have to hold off JMB, who has already got himself back into DRS range, and he's looking to get some spots here. He can see the leader. He is doing basically another last to first right here. I know he didn't go all the way down into last, but he basically he spun out and basically went down in that area, so he's basically looking for his 2nd last to first challenge right here, but he's going to have to get by B-Tom, who gets back into the lead. Oh, man. Yeah, this is one of those tracks where it's, I think it's similar to Coda, to where you have a lot of corners where you could definitely get a little squirrely. There's a lot of corners where you can really punch the gas. Slow corners, a lot of slow corners. That corner that we just went through, the hairpin of, oh, contact! That is not going to help him get by B-Tom. Especially if you break that front wing. I don't think he did. But yeah, that turn pin of hair 5, geez, that's not what I meant to say. That hairpin of turn 5, the semi-hairpin of turn 3, I like to say, then this corner right here, turn 13. There's a lot of slow corners, and I think personally, we gotta make Formula 1 tracks great again. You know, I get it, it's a fast sport, a lot of high-speed corners, but I feel like they've taken away a lot of the slow corners in the last 5 years, and I think we need more of them, personally. I think we need more slow corners. Like, really slow corners. Oh, B-Tom really sending it, trying to get back to Jose there. But Jose not doing himself any favors there. I like that corner. Let's see who's headed through that corner. Yeah, Mahmoud. So it's one of those sweeping corners where you go in, you turn right, then you sweep back to the left. I love those kind of corners. And honestly, if you're doing a driver profile on me, that's like my bread and butter. These kind of corners, though, I don't really like, because the car gets really light there, and you kind of have to place the car and then accelerate it. One of those corners. You see Mahmoud. Yeah, you saw the throttle input there. You really got to, it's not one of those black and white corners. You really got to wait for the car to sit and then accelerate. It's really easy for the thing to get light in that corner. Turn 8 that corner is, and spin out, so. We've already seen Deathstroke spin out through there today, so it will get you. It will eat you up, spit you out, and throw you back into the woods where Seafreeze is. And we'll have to, maybe we'll pick him up from the woods again next week, guys. 10 laps in, B-Tom back to the lead. He's been here before. He's played this leapfrogging game plenty of times. He knows what to do in these scenarios. And like I said, you look at that battery, you really can nail the battery here. It's one of those forgiving racetracks. And that's partially because of, like I said, the fact that you you do have a handful of slow corners here where the battery recharges. You saw Jose's battery there. His battery recharged just about 10% just in that corner. Which, I mean, it depends on who you are. There's some people that say, oh, you're using the battery way too much. You're basically using it on every straightaway. As you see, Jose, he's already back up to 100%. However, I think it's a good thing, just because I like diversity, as Deathstroke is taking the shortcut around the track. That is not how you go around the track. And you know what? I may want to get the police back on this, because, you know, the TCR police, they're not very lenient. If you cut the track, you're gonna get penalized for it. As Mahmoud making his way into the pit on lap 11, that's interesting. First one in the pits, and he's gonna have to go 22 laps on the medium, so we'll see if that works out for him. But, Deathstroke, 10 seconds? We gotta call the cops. Lock you up, throw you in a padded room, and throw away the key. That is a huge time penalty there for the Mercedes driver. 10 seconds. And Mahmoud comes out. Let's see if Deathstroke comes in. As Mahmoud comes out. J&B comes out of turn 11. Charles coming out of turn 13, and Jose coming out of turn 14. It's just a big coming out party today. So now this is when things get interesting, especially with the guys on soft tires, because we saw earlier in the sprint race that these things can go 11 laps. Damn it, I was about to do the helicopter sound effect. The helicopter man really loves to get my hopes up. Every time I'm about to play the sound effect, he just goes and he just throws himself off the helicopter and into the woods. Oh, I thought Lion just got a penalty there, but that is Deathstroke. He is not keeping it on the track, and I don't think he heard me when I said the police are at his front door right now. As well, let's see here. Mahmoud, Capitan, the race coming out of the pits, and I think Mahmoud's gonna get him. So now the question is, though, when are these guys going to come in? You got Lion, you got J&B, and you got Charles, all within a couple of seconds of each other, and they're all on soft. So we'll see when the first guy bites the bullet and comes into the pits. J&B pushing, maybe he's really fighting to get to the pits first. But Charles will be the first one in. This is not one of the easiest pit lanes on the calendar. You're coming in at such a fast speed, and you got to really hit the brakes hard. And now it's going to be a race of who can come out first. Charles did have the advantage, obviously, but let's just see in comparison where people come out. Oh, it looks like J&B barely gets out in front of Lion. Now it's just a matter of who will accelerate the best out of the pits here. You don't want to take the Lando Norris route and try to pass someone through the grass. But yeah, good stop there from Charles. He's got 2 seconds on J&B. Great execution there. And now the question is, though, where are these guys going to come out in comparison to Jose and B-Tom? As Deathstroke, it has not been a good start to his race. He's got 23 seconds in penalties. Deathstroke, if you're listening, Kluka broke the TCR record earlier this season with 66 seconds in penalties. So, it's as long as you're not harming anybody, by all means. And, you know, I don't want to give away any secrets, but Kluka did tell me what he did. Oh, we got a race out of the pits here. That is Deathstroke a lap down. That could have been bad if he got out just in time. But No, what I was going to say in regard to Deathstroke is, you know, I heard from Kluka that there was something he did specifically to prevent the game from disqualifying him. But, you know, if he's getting a lot of time penalties, and there does come to a point to where if you get too many corner cutting penalties, the game will disqualify you. However, there is a loophole behind that of the game not disqualifying you. And you know, Kluka, he's in the same house as me. Like I want him to keep that record. You know, I'm not gonna go and reveal his secrets, but I don't know if he might have said it in the Discord, but maybe people have forgotten about that. And quite frankly, you know, you don't want to be in a scenario where you're going for the corner cutting penalty record, because that means you're having a bad race probably. But B-Tom, he's not going for any penalties. He's going for the race win. He's got the lead. If you look at Deathstroke, though, he is halfway there to 66, and we have more than halfway left in the race, so you never know. I think he can do it. As JMB puts up fastest lap, 1:18.879, and that is only half a second off of the race record. And I've been beating a dead horse this season when it comes to records, but this has been a season of records. Even with our smaller grids this season, a lot of the qualifying and race lap records have been broken, not just by B-Tom, but Remsley destroyed the Imola qualifying record, got it by half a second actually. And B-Tom broke the qualifying record earlier today, so he could be in for a race lap record too. I mean, JMB is doing this on mediums. You never know if someone comes in late in the race with low fuel, puts on softs, and gives it a go. You never know. The TCR race lap record is held by... Interesting, hold on. I know B-Tom went off the track there, but I'm almost curious if he was giving him the spot here to get back at him here? Huh. Maybe he's trying something for later in the race, as look at this, P3, fastest lap, and a spot for JMB. He's got 3/10 to go now to get that race lap record. I think he can do it, especially with the amount of battery that you can use in one lap here. It can be done. I don't know if it will be done today, but it can be done. As we got battles everywhere. Mahmoud, Capitan swapping places. That could be a spot in points here pretty soon, because Capitan has closed in on Mahmoud for 6th in points. And I think he could get there maybe by next week, depending on the race he has next week, which, hey, hats off to Capitan. If he can get 6th in points, considering he only ran half the season, then hats off to him. That would be a great accomplishment. I'm telling you guys, commentating by yourself is a sport. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, but yeah, we still got half the race to go, and I'm gonna hang in it. But it is hard on your voice, especially when you do these. I feel like this season's been a lot easier, both for me and for the drivers, just because it's only 12 races and we have 2 off weeks. But these calendars, man, they're a grind. They are a grind, especially if you want to be competitive with the amount of practice you got to put in, showing up every race, doing good every race. It's not the easiest thing in the world, so but it really is all about just having fun, you know. Yeah, the points are important, obviously. That's why we race. We race for wins too, but as time goes on, you start to realize it's not necessarily about that. you know, especially in a community environment. But these two, you look at the gap, about 23 seconds to JMB. Where is it? There it is. 23 and a half seconds to JMB, and this is where things will get interesting because, I mean, on a surface level, yeah, that's a huge gap, but these guys got a pit. And we're approaching the pit window for B-Tom and Jose to come into the pits. And the question is, where are they going to come out in comparison to JMB and Charles? Because if they come out behind them, yeah, they're going to have soft tires, but with the DRS here and the fact that you have to get around these guys, you know, this isn't going to be an easy thing for Jose and B-Tom. And that's part of the... I feel like that's something that the DRS and this new era of constant overtaking and DRS and battery, I think it's taken away the reverse strategy a little bit. I think it's taken away the incentive to do it because you kind of get stuck in traffic and you kind of get stuck in a DRS train. As Jose, last second into the pits, he must have heard me. Maybe he was playing puppet there, trying to just not make B-Tom realize what he was doing. And this could be big if Jose gets out in front of him. But we're going to see if JMB can catch Jose and put him in a pickle. I think he's going to get him. Oh, it's going to be close, though. I don't know. He's got him. And Charles gets by him, too. So that's what I was talking about. So he's going to have to... I think he's going to have to get within DRS range right here. Maybe not. Maybe for the front stretch. But he's going to have to make do of these guys that are ahead of him. Because he's going to have more pace on those soft tires. And now it's up to B-Tom to respond. And I'm assuming B-Tom will come in the pits here. I think Jose really wants to get within DRS right here for the front stretch because B-Tom will be making his way into the pits. And like I said, this is one of those tracks where it's really easy to speed, I feel like, because you don't realize how fast you're actually going when you come down into the pits. But nonetheless, here comes B-Tom in for service. And away he goes. Here comes J&B through turn 15. Here comes B-Tom out of the pits. He's going to get him. Jose, though, he really wanted that DRS. Is he going to get him out of the pits here? Oh, and Charles runs into him. I don't think he was anticipating that at all. That is horrible luck there for Charles. Man, I'm curious as to what his opinion was. I think that's just horrible timing. I don't think B-Tom necessarily did anything bad there. Charles was maybe just really aggressive to try and get by him, but nonetheless, that is his race up in smoke. You'll look at that right front end plate. It is gone. So I guess that really goes and it opens this podium up for these three to just have at it. That is big for the points too, because Charles had a huge week last week, got himself up to P4, or excuse me, P4 in points. Lions, he's pulled away for P3. But for P4 in points, he and Jose are gonna, I think that battle is going to closing up even further. And this could give Lion P3 in the standings pretty easily, as here comes Charles in the pits here. Don't want to speed and add insult to injury, as there's the fastest lap for Jose. And that is a lap that is close to the record. He didn't get it. I would have thought he would have gotten it on soft tires. It's going to happen, though. It's got to happen, right? Maybe B-Tom will get it. I mean, he is so close. Like, he is within a tenth. Less than a tenth off the TCR record. So I think it's just a matter of time. Maybe the next fastest lap will be the fastest one. It could be Charles that gets it, actually. I was going to say earlier, I got caught off track earlier. Lucas Paul, 73, holds the TCR race lap record. I don't think I remember that name at all, actually. As you see, that is Deathstroke giving way there to B-Tom, and he's gonna give J&B some DRS right here. That was pretty convenient. And there it is. A race record by a landslide there. B-Tom wanted it. A 1:17.389. Yeah, that is just easily the record. Whoa, look at this. These guys went at it last week, and I'm sure Jose is not going to give him an easy run for his money. Jose P2. These guys battling, though, is going to allow B-Tom to just set sail and maybe prevail here to P1. And if he gets a big enough lead, maybe he'll retry what he tried last week. Yeah, and it seems like his wheel, J&B's wheel, is fine right now. So if he gets up in the podium for the podium interviews, I'll have to ask him about his wheel and what happened, because that seemed quite bizarre that, you know. Like I said, I feel like I'm just waiting for my wheel to start having issues, because I've had it now for close to 2 years now, and I've used it. I've used it quite a bit, so yeah. Right? Yeah, it's almost been, because I started in season 16 with it, and it's been almost 2 years since the end of season 15, so yeah, these wheels, they tend to, it depends on your usage, but they tend to have a life of, you know, 3 years, give or take, 3 to 5 years, depending on how generous you are with them and how much you use them. But oh, that was a good bird's eye view of Jose dirt tracking it around the hairpin there of turn 5. And he is really trying to get away from his rival, I'll call it, his rival, just from, if you saw the race last week in Saudi Arabia, these two had a crash, which resulted in a 10-second penalty for J&B, which put him back in P5 in the race results. And it didn't do anything for Jose, because Jose ended up DNFing that race, but yeah, I think as soon as B-Tom was able to get out of DRS range, he is just taken off, and maybe that'll be a question for Jose in the interview of, you know, what was the moment that, because there was a lot that was happening there, coming out of the pits, like B-Tom came out of the pits, Charles hit him, and, you know, there was a bunch of chaos there, so, but still got battles, though, on track. J&B, Jose, Mahmoud closing in on Capitan, which, like I said, that could be a spot in points up for grabs, maybe. Because Capitan, just based on what I'm looking at, I don't think he'll get P7 in points this race, because Silent is P7, but I don't think he's going to race the rest of the season, so Capitan just kind of has to finish these next couple of races, and he can get up to P7 in points, but, you know, Mahmoud isn't that far away from him in the standings, so it could be a battle if Capitan finishes ahead of him today. Could be, as Deathstroke adding his name to the naughty list once again. Up to 36 seconds. I don't think he's going to reach 66 seconds, but you never know. You never know. It is never over until the fat lady sings. I don't know who the fat lady is, but when she starts singing, that's when you know that we're done. Good little low helicopter shot here of Mr. Mahmoud. I just want to look at Charles real quick. So he ended up putting up 18.4. Maybe he wasn't going for fastest lap. I think he could get it personally if maybe if Charles comes back in again and puts on, if he has a set of fresh tires. Because at this point, maybe he catches Mahmoud, but he's got a little ways to go to get to him. He's got 6 seconds. He's got 6 seconds and 8 laps, you know. I don't care what tire you're on. That's a tough task to do. But you never know. I would go for it personally. It's the difference between 6 points and 8 points. Yeah, I think he's going to get him, actually. Based on the amount of time he's been gaining, I think he could get this. And he could finish in P5, actually, because Capitan's not that far up the road either. He could really get P5. Which would be a good recovery, considering Charles got into an incident there with DTOM. He could still come away from today with 10 points compared to Jose's 18. So ideally, you're looking at a 4-point gap between those two going into, right? 4 points? How much are they separated by? They're separated by 12. So yeah, it would be a 4-point gap. So that's a battle to look for next week. The season finale in Australia, round 12 out of 12. And we wrap up our F124 game cycle. And then we will reach season 20 next season, a big season. I think we're going to have a lot of cool stuff. I mean, we're not going to go and, like, you know, just do a complete 180, but I think we'll have a couple of things on the schedule that you haven't seen before. That's my goal, at least, is to get, I would love to have a reverse track on the schedule, because I think we saw that in the F125 trailer, right? We saw that they had reverse tracks. So if we could get that on the schedule, that would be awesome. And then also, too, I really would love to go and shorten these sprint races a little bit, because, you know, this race is going to get done at like 10:20 Eastern. I really would love to get these done at normal time, personally. So maybe we do that. We go back to 35%, which I think we should, because we've never really done 35% races in TCR before. So I think we should do that. And then maybe we'll have the mystery race back. I love it. I love it. We should definitely have something else too, though. I really think we need to spice things up and just, you know, give the people what they want, you know. Because at the end of the day, this is, you know, this is all for fun. This is the best thing that you can do on a Tuesday night. We look at this, though. JMB, yeah, that strategy, not going to help him in the long run, as he has separated himself from Jose, who is looking for a solid P2 here, and I actually think I'm going to nail this podium prediction for once. No, actually, no, I picked line, didn't I? Damn it. Yeah, JMB, great race, though. He did a last the first, basically. Going from 8th to 1st in just 3 laps. But then those two, with their reverse strategy, was able to pull away from him in the long run. And I think Beaton is in for a win today. And we'll see, you know, he's got... Oh, no! Well, you know what? That is yet another commentator's curse on my behalf. And there's only been 2 commentators' curses today, which I can't believe I'm emphasizing yet. There's only been 2 of them today. But they've both been really bad. So... sorry about that, Jose. I don't think you're in for a P2 just yet, but... yeah, you know, it's never over until the fat lady sings. Oh, and I think we just saw Mahmoud spin out. Is that the same corner? Like I said, I've been preaching this all race. That is the toughest corner on the track. turn 8. The car gets so light through there, and I remember back when I raced in TCR, I raced here twice. Yeah, one of them didn't end pretty for me. The other one I did alright in, but I remember in that corner I was so conservative that I was losing time everywhere. Like every lap through turn 8, specifically, because I was just very conservative through that corner. But yeah, no, what this has done though is Charles is up in the P6 with Mahmoud being out of the picture now. Maybe Mahmoud's going for some softs here and he could go for fastest lap. I think he could do it because he's gonna have low fuel. His best lap is a 19.6, but those weren't on fresh softs, and they weren't in a scenario where he was necessarily going for fastest lap. So he's going to have a tall task ahead of him. B-Tom putting up a 17.3 is not going to be easy to get, but he could do it maybe. And we'll see if he gets it. But ahead of him, though, take a look at this. P5 up for grabs, and we could be having another battle for P2 on our hands as Jose is trying to get back up to J and B for that spot. We'll see if he can do it. B-Tom, I'm telling you, he could do a very slow, harmless donut at the finish line this week to redeem himself from last week. And I think he wants to do this. I think I'll keep the camera on him to see if he can do it. As Charles up in the P5. Good recovery for him, but I'm sure he'll be not too pleased because he could have had a podium. And I think that's just one of those scenarios where it was just wrong place, wrong time. B-Tom was coming out of the pits, couldn't really go anywhere, and the two of them had a collision. So but now Charles has his sights set on finishing in P5. I think he'll pull away here outside of DRS range, which that's the biggest thing. If he can get by DRS range from Capitan, then he should be able to secure the spot. And look at that, he's already got 1 second on him, so that should be an easy P5. 3 laps to go. B-Tom has 8 seconds now over JMB. JMB's got to fight back on Jose, and there's a nail in the coffin for El Capitan's P5 finish as he gets on the naughty list. And let's keep an eye on Mahmoud right here. He's got half a second up on his best. That is not going to be enough to get fastest lap. Unless if he has a Herculean effort here through turns 14 and 15, then I think he'll settle for the second fastest lap or wherever he ends up. To the line, not fastest lap, but it will be a best lap for him. Jose is so close to DRS. This is not over just yet for P2. And this is big if Jose gets this spot, because this is the difference between a 4-point gap between he and Charles going into next week and a 7-point gap, with Charles leading the way. So I think Jose really needs this spot, personally. If he wants to get 4th in points, he's going to have to fight for this spot. And really for Constructors too. Constructors is quite a mess right now. You got quite the battle for 3rd in Constructors, with Ferrari and Mercedes being at the forefront of it. So it's not over just yet. And Capitan could be going for his bid at fastest lap. He's got the gap to do it. B-Tom, though, approaching the final lap of the race, and we'll see if he celebrates a little bit. And if he celebrates, I will be more than happy to give him a proper champion's clinching call, even though he already clinched it. But final lap of the race, B-Tom makes his way through turns 1 and 2 without spinning out. That was a bit close. Look at this, though. Jose is within DRS range, so we could be having a battle here for P2. Let's see if JB can hold him off. This is not going to be easy. Oh, well, if Jose makes mistakes, then that could be all that she wrote, and Jose's really trying to get up there. I don't think he was needing to push that hard, but he's going to make himself... he's putting himself in a little bit of a harder scenario now to get that spot, but we'll see if he can do it. As B-Tom is approaching Mahmoud, and I think, yeah, Mahmoud, he wants to finish this race. If he finishes ahead of B-Tom on track here, he's going to have to go around the merry-go-round once again, but B-Tom, redeeming himself from last week in what was a failed celebration for his bid of a 7th championship, looks to be redeemed today, and B-Tom is going to make his way to the finish line to win the Portuguese Grand Prix for his 7th victory of the season and his 48th overall, as JMB holds on for P2. Jose gets P3. And I'm sure Jose may be kicking himself for that spin. Could have gotten P2, but nonetheless gets a podium. Good effort there. Lion will finish P4, and looks like he'll secure 3rd in points. I don't think anyone's going to catch him for 3rd in points. I think that's going to be an easy task for him to finish off the season in that spot in points. Charles comes back for P5, and he and Jose will have a showdown next week. 7 points between them going into the finale. Could have been less, but nonetheless, it will be 7 points between them. Capitan, Mahmoud, and Deathstroke will round us out. Good, solid race there. Nothing too egregious. We had our moments, but B-Tom with his 7th win of the season. Seven wins in 11 starts. That's pretty good. Could have been 8. Easily could have been 8, but it's been, honestly, I've seen B-Tom win plenty of championships in this league. Honestly, I think you got a couple of mishaps to subtract, and this has been his best season, I think. Like I said, last week was a mulligan. I'm not even going to factor that into play, but Japan, he got into a wreck that you know, took him out of it, and then Azerbaijan, wrong place, wrong time. He really could have won every race this season, just if everything went his way, but I don't think I'll live to see someone sweep the TCR races in a season. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't care who's on the grid. I just don't think that that's possible with the way that these races work. But B-Tom, 17.389, and let me put that in the system right now. That way I don't forget, because we do keep a record of that. 17.389 for Mr. B-Tom. And we'll get these guys in for an interview. My voice is shot, so I'm not going to go crazy on the interviews. I don't know why. I know we ran a little bit longer today than usual because of the sprint, but my God, I mean, like, I'm fighting for my life here. I'm not even sick either. That's the thing. I don't know. But we'll get these guys in for a podium interview. All right. So we will get Jose, JMB, and B-Tom in for an interview. and we will get their opinions, their thoughts, feelings, concerns. Jose, you are the first one to the voice chat. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am the first one at something.
That's not your first time being first.
That's what she said. Yeah, it was a shit race. I mean, it was a good race because I found pace that I didn't know I had. And, but yeah, I fucked up at the end. It felt bad. It ended badly, but it was a good race.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. So, it looked like P2 was pretty safe and secure, and then you had a bit of a whoopsie there. What happened there?
Yeah, I had the whole race. I mean, no, for I think since the last update, my game drops frames. It's very weird. Like, I got a fucking 4090 on my laptop, which should be doing 100 FPS on my 2K monitor, and it does, but then all of a sudden it drops to 60 or 70, and you really can't tell unless you're looking at it in a race, but it messes up my concentration. It's so weird. So yeah, that makes me lose concentration a lot. And also my brakes, like I told in the chat, I'm getting brake inputs everywhere, in the exit of corners, in the straights. So I have to I spent the whole race kicking the pedals to try and get the dust to move, but it didn't work. So yeah, I don't know if Beto or JNB saw my DRS going crazy on some straights at the end. That was the brakes closing them and me opening back up. But yeah, those two things combined makes for very little focus to be left for on track focus, like normal racing. So in the end, yeah, I didn't know how I didn't spawn earlier, to be honest, on that corner. But it sucks that it made me lose P2. So yeah, can't say much more.
And that was in turn 8 that you spun, right? That uphill right-hander?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was worst place, wrong place, wrong time, basically, because that's the last corner that you want to have those issues in, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, well, thankfully the walls are far, and I didn't spun it 180. I managed to get it back right. I only lost I think 3 seconds, maybe 4. But JMB was so close that he got past anyways. Yeah, it's such a tricky corner, and when you're dumb like me, it's even trickier.
Yeah. Well, because of Charles's issues, because Charles, I don't know if you saw it, but Charles ended up hitting B-Tom coming out of the pits. You will only be behind him by 7 points going into next week. So 4th in points on the line. How are we feeling about Australia next week?
I'm going into the point standings right now. So you say I'm catching Charles. Yeah, but Lion's out of the picture, isn't he?
Yeah, Lion, he's got 3rd in points wrapped up, so it'll be you and Charles for 4th in points.
Yeah, if I didn't DNF on Saudi, I could have had for 3rd, but yeah, if 4th is the best I can get, I'm confident I can get it. I just need to keep my good form going, because I've been finding pace in tracks I didn't know I had. So if I can just keep that up, I'm confident I can get him. Respect to Charles, but he's occupying a place that belongs to me.
Well, there you go. Get the boxing gloves out. We got ourselves a showdown for next week.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, hey, congrats on the podium. I had you in my podium, so there we go. That's a prediction I got right. And
I'm not used to meeting expectations.
No, you've been doing fine this season, honestly. The only reason you DNF last week is because you left the race. It's not like you crashed out necessarily.
Yeah, I should have. I saw the transmission. You said I had one more lap that I could complete 90%, and in hindsight I should have done that because I could have got 5 points with all DNFs. But yeah, that's dumb on my end.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you live and learn, and that's why, no matter the situation I was in when I was racing TCR, like I always finished the race.
Yeah, that's probably smarter.
Yeah. With that being said, let's move on to P2. J and B, technically you did do a last to first today because in 3 laps, you went from 8th all the way up to the lead. Not bad considering that you've got that little injury we were talking about and your wheel was malfunctioning earlier. Yeah, but how was that start? It seemed like it was pretty good from my point of view.
I mean, yeah, it was an absolute rocket ship start for me. I had immediately put on my overtake, bunch of battling up ahead. I mean, yeah, it was just crazy at the first lap. Everyone going side by side through turn 1. That is very tough to do that on this track. So yeah, overall, yeah, it was just a good start by me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that turn 1, really the first few corners are really tough to go side by side in, and you were able to get some passes pretty quickly, which, because you had to start at the back because of your wheel issues. So you said that the downshift button wasn't working?
Yep, it was not working. I was stuck in like 7th gear.
Oh, wow.
I was stuck. Like, it wouldn't even work at all.
Huh. Have you had your wheel for a few years now?
Yeah, I had it since probably like 2022. I had it for a while.
Well, I hate to tell you this, bud, but you may be getting to the end of your wheel cycle. Because three years in, your downshift button's having issues, you know. Because I'm assuming you've probably used your wheel a lot in the last 3 years, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is not like the first time I had downshift issues. I had this issue before. So this is like the second time.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if it's an urgent thing, but yeah, you might be coming to the end of your wheel cycle. So, Capitan might need to go shopping here pretty soon.
Yeah, he fixed my wheel, so thanks, John.
That's what I thought, because I noticed that both of you took a little bit to get into the lobby for the feature. But that's good, though, that he was able to fix it and you were able to get the race in. Yeah, I would say, yeah, just a solid race from your point of view. Oh, one last thing. So you didn't go with the reverse strategy, which B-Tom and Jose did. Is that something that you would have changed if you could do things over again?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I did a bunch of practice runs. I just did not like the mediums at the start. But I loved the softs at the beginning, so I decided to go with that strategy.
Right on. Well, for like I said, for a dying wheel and having to start at the back, pretty good effort finishing P2. So congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
And we're gonna do the interview that we should have had last week. B-Tom, P1. I was thinking, is he gonna like slow down, come to a stop, and do a donut at the finish line? But I figured you probably weren't. Did you think about it, or were you just not even gonna take that chance?
Oh, absolutely not. I was not going to throw it. I wouldn't like that again.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
But yeah, you won by a good margin. I'm curious as to coming out of the pits. It seemed like you got a pretty good shunt there from Charles. I don't think there was anything bad there. I think it was just wrong place, wrong time. But he did hit you pretty good when you were making your way through turn 1. Did you see him coming? Did you almost spin out, or was it kind of just like a heat in the moment type thing?
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were coming because, I mean, you can see them on the mini-map. And, you know, Jose had gone for the undercut and the soft, so I knew it'd be tight. And I tried to stay as far to the right as I possibly could. Because, I mean, turn 1, I think, is a terrible place to have the pit exit because it's just a fast right-hander in 6 gears. So
I agree.
Speed difference is massive. So, yeah, I think it was just terrible timing. But yeah, I mean, that was super unfortunate for him. At the time, like, when I got hit, I didn't even know who hit me at first, and then I saw Sir Charles drop back, and I was like, hopefully he didn't get damaged, but, I mean, I just looked at the replay, and yeah, that pretty much ruined his race, so, yeah, that's a bit frustrating, because, I mean, you never want to be responsible for destroying someone's race, and, yeah, I mean, he was on for a good result, so.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I agree with you when it comes to the pit lane. I almost think that they should move the pit boxes down. I mean, I know that's not realistic, but if I had it my way, they should move the entire pit lane down and have an access road off to the right, and then it comes out after turn 1.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there literally is one.
Oh, there
Like,
is.
if you look on the pit exit, yeah, there's a road on the right side that you can take, and, like, you'll be pretty much carrying the same amount of speed as people who are going through turn 1. And you'll be on the inside, so you'll be off the racing line, instead of, like, coming out right on it, you know, a good 100 kilometers per hour slower than, you know, the people who are coming around. So, yeah, I don't know why they don't use that, but...
Yeah, I had no idea. That's interesting. Well, I guess from their perspective, I get that it would be an extremely long pit exit. But yeah, you got to think about that and I know they don't race there anymore, so it's not like it really matters. But yeah, that's probably not the best situation to just all of a sudden throw people out onto the track right into a sharp corner. It just doesn't seem like the best idea.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that's something they'd be aware of, but...
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but after that, it seemed like you were able to pull away, and you did get a really good fastest lap, which, once again, you know, records are being broken left and right this season, not just by you, but you were able to pick up both the qualifying and race lap record at Portugal. So just add that to the list, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It was good. My qualifying lap was clean. I wasn't like fully on the limit just because, you know, you only have the one run. Otherwise, you're going to be, you know, starting based on your medium tire lap. So, but yeah, all things considered, it was pretty good. Probably could have only gone like 2-3 tenths quicker, but that I would have needed a bit of practice to do that. So, yeah, I was happy with that. And then with the fastest lap, I mean, I didn't quite have a full battery, but I think I had like maybe 60 or 70 crossing the line on fresh softs, and I knew my tires were better than Jose's and JMB's, so I mean that was like my one chance to break DRS, so I just dumped the battery to try and do that, and just about managed to do it. So I think I was 1/10 outside next time we got to the DRS zone of, I want to say, turn 4, exit turn 4. I'm not good with corner names, but you know the second DRS zone.
Yeah.
So.
Are you talking like the corner after the hairpin or before it?
Yeah, after the hairpin.
That's turn 5.
Oh, okay, yeah, turn 5, because the testing point's on the exit there. So, breaking out of the first one is, I mean, it's hard, but the second one, I mean, if you don't break out of that one, then you're basically screwed. So, yeah, I managed to do that, and then was able to show off my race pace, because the slipstream and DRS makes it so hard to pull away. So, I mean, you saw at points, like, I would maybe pull out, like, 5 or 6 tenths on Jose, and then we'd be, like, right next to each other at the end of the straight. So, I mean, he had good pace as well, but, you know, when DRS isn't really in play, you're able to slowly build up that gap over time. So, yeah, once that happened, that's pretty much what I did, and, yeah, it was, not completely straightforward, but it was yeah, probably the best I could have hoped for.
More straightforward than last week.
Yeah. Also, bit of a funny story is I was like super close to speeding in the pits. Like I think had I gotten on brakes like half a tenth later, I would have sped and gotten a penalty. Like it was that close.
I think I noticed that actually.
So,
I felt like you were kind of close actually coming into the pits.
Yeah. So I was a bit lucky there. Because, I mean, had I gotten that 10-second penalty, I would have lost the race by, I think, like 27 thousandths of a second.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to see if you can close this out next week, and I'm gonna give you a proper call next week for the championship because I didn't really get to do that last week, but
Yeah, I kind of ruined that moment.
yeah. Well, I already said like you won the race and then boom into the wall, so I jumped the gun a little bit too, honestly. But yeah, that will do it for tonight. We've been here for almost 2 hours. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we end up doing a 35% feature for sprint races next season. Because I do think we run a little bit long on these sprint races, and there was even questions on if we would do a sprint tonight because of the grid size. But I like to do it.
Yeah.
We put it on the schedule for a reason, so we might as well do it.
For some tracks, they're fun. Like at Portugal, you could be very competitive whether you started on the medium or the soft tire. So even though there's no pit stops involved, there's still a strategy element there. So it seemed like most people started on the softs, but in hindsight, I probably would have started on the mediums. Because I was struggling quite a bit towards the end, but yeah. Most tracks, it's just like clearly mediums, or sometimes like if you do it at Danford, it'd be clearly the soft, but around here, I think it's nicely balanced, so in those sorts of situations, I think a sprint would be cool, but otherwise, it's like, there's not really a need for it.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, I think C-Freeze really cooked with the schedule this season because we had some really good tracks, sprint races for appropriate tracks, but what that means is we got some tracks to check off next season that we haven't ran in a few seasons, and they're not everyone's fan favorites, but we got to do them. So that will do it for tonight. Next week, Australian Grand Prix to finish off the season finale, and we will see you then for round 12 at Australia. Have a good night.